Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Tuesday evening lesson here with us on our YouTube channel with B'nai Baruch. And what we can do is carry on as usual. So last week we started studying the topic crowning the king over us. Now, just a slight heads up before we get smashing. As you know, we're working with B'nai Baruch, and the best way to learn is if you're part of a good environment. So you can go to Kabbalah.info if you're interested in studying the wisdom of Kabbalah. And there is a place called CabU Academy, which you can join and study with like-minded people. There are a bunch of great guys there who'll take care of you. And if you feel like, moving forward, you certainly can do that. Okay, in the meantime, if you like these lessons here as well, you're more than welcome to watch them. And if you're new to the channel, you can go back and look at semester 1, 2, and 3, where we laid out all the foundations and had some foundation courses. And now we're just doing a regular Tuesday evening as usual. So we're going to carry on with article excerpt number 4 from this topic, crowning the king over us. Obviously, the king is the creator, right? And we'll see how we go. If you have any questions, shoot them through. We'll try to answer them as best we can. We'll find answers from the texts. So let's get started. Sometimes the king is so important in the eyes of a person that the person has a strong desire to merely speak to the king, but not because he wishes to speak to the king, so the king will give him something. He doesn't want anything, but his whole pleasure is in having the privilege of speaking to the king. However, it is impolite to come to the king without some request. So he is searching for some request that the king may grant. In other words, he says that he wants to come to the king so the king will give him something. But in truth, he says that he wants the king to give him something only on the outside. In his heart, he does not want anything from the king. Just having the ability to speak to the king is enough for him, and it does not matter to him if the king has given him something or not. Right, so as usual, we'll read it twice. Okay, initially when we first read it, it's sometimes hard to extract something from an excerpt which we can really relate to our inner work, right? Because everything we study, it's kind of like what we want to do is relate it to our inner work so that we can get something from the text. And sometimes, like I said, it's a little difficult. So let's go over it again. Sometimes the king is so important in the eyes of a person that the person has a strong desire to merely speak to the king, but not because he wishes to speak to the king, so the king will give him something. All right, so obviously we're trying to, what is the purpose of life? The meaning of our life is to achieve a higher level of consciousness, right? And that high level of consciousness is called a connection with the creator. And in reality, connection only can happen if you have similar attributes that that touch each other, right? Because if you don't have similar attributes, it's like two people, right? If their personality, the things they like and dislike are completely different, we can't really say they've got some kind of a connection. So in order for us to have a connection with the creator, what we have to do is to actually have something that is similar to the creator. So what we're trying to discover here, what he's trying to convey to us, as far as I can understand, is that spirituality, achieving the meaning of life, this higher level of consciousness called the creator, is really important for us. So we have a strong desire to come to that kind of a level. But it's not because we want to get something, okay? He doesn't want anything, but his whole pleasure is in having the privilege of speaking to the king. So it's not like we're going somewhere in order to fulfill our desire to receive for ourselves. No. What we want to do is use the opportunity called this life to elevate ourselves to spirituality so that we can actually exist in reality like the creator. And that's the whole idea. So we can elevate ourselves. However, it's implied to come to the king without some request. So he's searching for some request that the king may grant. So this is where the equivalence of form comes in, right? So we need to have some common ground with the creator. If we don't have a common ground, there's nothing to talk about. So I need to, because we're a desire to receive, right? The creator created us as a desire to receive. So by nature, I want something, but on the other hand, I don't want it in order to fulfill myself, but I want it to build a connection between me and the creator, right? Because the creator, as he describes in this allegory, is the king, right? And the king has all the power and the ability to provide something that a mere person can want. So the whole concept here is that we need to search for what can we request from the creator, which will be grantable, obviously, okay? And something that the creator can give us. And once again, it's not something that we want to get for ourselves, but in order to build a connection with the creator. Because how do we build connection in reality as well, right? By giving, right? All our relationships in life are based on what? Give and take, right? This is just how nature works. So give and take, give and take, give and take, and that's how we build our relationships, and that's how we become close friends with people. Why? Because we're close with them, because we're constantly giving and taking, right? They're giving, I'm giving, we're taking, they're taking, and we have this harmonious give and take relationship, and that kind of builds strong bonds with that person. So same here, if we want to build a connection with the creator, his attributes are love, and love's action or act is bestowal. And what we need to do is, our attribute is reception, but if we want to use it with a loving way towards the other party, just like the creator is using his attributes towards us in a loving way, then what we have to do is to ensure that whatever is giving and taking between us is not for our self-benefit, but is for the benefit of that beautiful relation that we're trying to maintain, right? Called that mutual love. In other words, he says that he wants to come to the king so the king will give him something. But in truth, he says that he wants the king to give him something only on the outside. So we don't have much of a choice here, because we're a desire to receive pleasure. In any case, we have to come with a desire, and we can't get away from that, okay? But that's just like it says on the outside. It's like, well, it's not really why we're here. You know what I mean? So on the one hand, our desire, our nature is a reception, and we're desiring to receive something by default, nothing we can do about it. But that's not the purpose of this connection that we're trying to build with the creator. So it's like an excuse, really. All right. So I'm giving something. That we do this in life as well, right? So sometimes if you want to, I don't know, have a connection with someone, what do? You just go out and get something for them and do a little surprise, and it goes, oh, you got this for me? Yeah, I got that for you. And then all of a sudden this connection starts, right? So it's the same kind of thing. So what you buy or what you give and what you take becomes an excuse to build the connection. And same kind of thing here. In his heart, he does not want anything from the king. So it's not a matter of what I'm getting or giving, but it's a matter of building this relationship. Now you can say, but building this relationship is also a desire. That's true. But if it's not for my personal benefit, but if it's for the benefit of the creator, then it's a different story. Because like I said, we can't change our nature, which is a desire to receive. We can change why we're using this desire. All right, so in his heart, he does not want anything from the king. Just having the ability to speak to the king is enough for him, and it does not matter to him if the king has given him something or not. So the whole concept here is to build that initial connection and take things from there, right? And not for any self-benefit at all. And the reason is actually we have to build a connection with the creator, because the whole purpose of creation is to build a connection with the creator. All right, so approaching this purpose from a point of view without self-interest is what we need to build, okay? Right, if there are any questions, you guys just give me a wave and we'll fix them up. So I'm moving on to number 5, right? Has everybody got the link to the article? Yes? Okay. So let's take a look at number 5. This is also from Rabash, article number 24, the main thing we need. The main thing we need, and for which we have no fuel to work, for the work, is that we are lacking importance of the goal. That is, we do not know how to appreciate our service so as to know to whom we are bestowing. Also, we're lacking the awareness of the greatness of the Creator to know how happy we are that we have the privilege of serving the King. Since we have nothing with which to be able to understand his greatness. In the words of the Zohar, this is called Shekhinah, divinity in the dust, meaning that bestowal upon him is as important to us as dust. Naturally, we have no fuel to work, since without pleasure, there's no energy to work. Where self-love shines, the body derives vitality from this. But in the work of bestowal, the body does not feel any pleasure in this and must naturally collapse under its weight. Conversely, when one feels that he is serving an important king, to the extent of the importance of the king, so is his delight and pleasure from serving him. Hence, at that time, he has fuel that can give him the power to go forward each time, since he feels that he is serving an important king. Right, let's go over it again, paragraph or by sentence, right? The main thing we need, and for which we have no fuel for the work, is that we are lacking importance of the goal. Now, this is a natural phenomenon. If in life something is important, you will work tirelessly to get it done. Right? It's a known phenomenon. You can work endless hours, sleepless nights if you want to get something done which is important for you. However, if it's not important, you can't move a fraction of an inch. Okay, so not much we can do. It's just laws of nature, right? Nothing we can do about it. So what have we got to do? That is, we do not know how to appreciate our service so as to know to whom we're bestowing. Well, we don't feel the Creator, right? So when we're studying the wisdom of Kabbalah to elevate ourselves to the purpose of life, to a higher level of consciousness called adhesion with the Creator, we don't really have any appreciation for it because we don't sense it, we don't feel it. I mean, if we had a sensation, like even a small one, if we said, that's the Creator, then we'd all be running, all right, like headless chickens, non-stop. And that's how it is. But unfortunately, because we don't feel the Creator and because bestowal and love is against our nature, then we just don't have the fuel for it because we don't see what we're going to get. And if we don't see what we're going to get, for us, it's just irrational. Okay, for our desire to receive, if I don't see, or if I can't imagine, or if I can't have some kind of a comparison as to, this is what I should be getting. Okay, if I don't have some kind of a vision which is realistic, then it's not going to be important for me because it's just going to be like very, very airy-fairy, and we're just not going to go for it. It's not going to make an impression in me. So also we're lacking the awareness of the greatness of the Creator. Exactly. So we're not aware of the Creator at all. We're born here like, I don't know, like cats and dogs, really. Who knows? Okay. To know how happy we are that we have the privilege of serving the King, since we have nothing with which to be able to understand his greatness. See, exactly. We're like little kittens or puppies, right? We have absolutely no idea what we're doing here. We're born here, all right? And everybody wants to get their chocolate. Everybody wants to light, but nobody wants to get burnt, And then that's just not going to pan out, is it? So that's how our nature is. All right, so everybody's chasing some kind of flame. Nobody wants to get burnt. Everybody wants to have fun, and it's just not going to happen. So in spirituality as well, if we don't feel the Creator, we don't see the privilege of serving the Creator, and we don't have anything to do with this business at all because of the lack of sensation, then we have no understanding of his greatness either. So what's there to talk about, really? Who would want to work for the Creator? Nobody would. As in the words of the Zohar, this is called Shekhinah, divinity in the dust, meaning that bestowal upon him is as important to us as dust. Naturally, we have no fuel to work, since without pleasure, there's no energy to work. And this is exactly how we feel. Sometimes we come to the wisdom of Kabbalah all psyched up, 12 cylinders. Everybody wants to step on the gas. And then all of a sudden, you got 12 cylinders and the tank is empty. All right. And nobody can be really bothered to go and fill it up. That's just how it is. So then, you get people falling off the bandwagon, as they say. So it's not going to really pan out for us. So what we need to do is increase the importance of the goal so that we can have some energy. And because we don't have that naturally, bestowal, not just to the creator, but to anyone, is really not important at all. We can only even do a favor to someone if we feel good about it. If we have some personal benefit, some expectation, that's all. It can be monetary or emotional, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, even all the good things that we think we do, they are all for our personal benefit. Okay, so this needs to be really understood well. But in the work of bestowal, the body does not feel any pleasure in this and must naturally collapse under its weight. Now, this is important to understand. It says it must naturally collapse. Okay, so the more we try to bestow and work in bestowal, we're just going to discover that the body is not going to go there. And because the body will not go there, it won't allow you to get there. Okay, because at the end of the day, guess what? We are under the control of the body. Okay, so even if you've got a dot in the heart, it's not going to really work out. You can go nuts, but the body will not let you go in the direction of bestowal. It's just not going to happen. Unless somebody from above decides to give us a hand. Conversely, when one feels that he's serving an important king, to the extent of the importance of the king, so is his delight and pleasure from serving him. Hence, at that time, he has fuel that can give him the power to go forward each time, since he feels that he is serving an important king. See, that is a beautiful thing. If a person gets the sensation of the creator, then hey, touche, it's done deal. If not, then there's not much to do. So first, having a sensation of the creator is the most important thing, that initial contact, that first contact, which is the most difficult to do. However, though, the most fundamental, because then you build your base, your foundations on that first contact. And only then do you have the feel and the power to go forward each time. Okay? Because why? Because you've got a sensation, get a sensation of the creator. You feel the creator, and that is already enough to give you a nice drive. Okay, somebody waving at me? Yes, they were. Okay, Ingrid is asking, hello, how to overcome laziness and envy my friends in order to advance? Should one compare oneself with friends and compete in bestowal? How to overcome laziness? Well, the only way I can overcome laziness, right? I need what I need. I need some kind of I don't know, something like a steroid to give me a push. Okay, I'm saying that in a positive way. So I need some kind of motivation from the outside. Something needs to give me a boost and energy, like an energy drink. And I need to wake up. And that I can only get from the environment. Because if you're on your own, you're never going to want to bestow. It's just not going to happen. You'd rather lie down and sleep it off. I would anyway. Okay. And that's just how it is. So, but if we were a part of an environment where the environment was constantly active, then I'd be an active part of that. And that activity, the activation of me doing something physically, right, is very important, because then it gives me the drive to do stuff. So the only way to really overcome your laziness is to involve yourself by taking responsibility in the group and having some kind of a duty, or having some kind of a role in the group that you can constantly do, not just one-off or 2 times or whatever, but constantly on an ongoing basis, right? And that ongoing basis then allows you to integrate your intention into it, why you're doing it, and then you're doing it. If you're doing it with other friends as well, that's just great, because you got to connect with them, and then they give you motivation, you give them motivation. When you're down, they lift you up. When they're down, you lift them up, and the whole thing turns into one, I don't know, party. All right, that's how it works out. So what else did Ingrid ask? How to overcome laziness and envy my friends in order to advance. Well, if you want to envy the friends, right, you got to stick your heads in there. If you stick your head in there, if everybody in the group, right, if everyone sticks their heads in there, then what you'll begin to see is this. You'll begin to see how great they are. You won't see it unless you dive in. All right, you got to be in there. Why? Because you begin to see the things they're doing. You begin to value their effort for spirituality. And then you look at them and everybody's trying their best, right? Even when they're failing, you see they're trying. And that's already like giving them some value. You're like becoming impressed from them. But if you don't stick your head in there, if you don't connect with them, if you don't do stuff with your group, with the 10, you can never feel their greatness. So if you do this correctly, if you dive in, stick with the study, have some role, then more and more you'll begin to see how lowly you are and how great they are. Right? And then that should like extend like an elastic band. Okay. And then on the one hand, you become jealous of them, you become envious of them, and you're thinking, oh, I wish I was like them. And that will happen. Okay, but it always depends on how you mingle with the group. Okay, should one compare oneself with friends and compete in bestowal? Well, look, there are you can competing in bestowal is not a bad idea at all. It's good because this thing called competition is not a bad thing if we use it correctly. But you just got to be mindful. It's a bit of a tricky thing. Okay. We're all different. Okay, we're all different. So what might be a good idea is to see where you can complete the friends rather than I don't know, trying to do something better than them, because we're all different. Our talents are different. Just like our faces are different, our thoughts are different, our desires are different, our capabilities are different. We're just different. And if everybody does their best to contribute according to their specific attributes, then everybody in the group kind of complements and completes each other. So when everybody is doing their best, on the one hand, you're competing, right, to do your best. But on the other hand, you're completing everybody else. All right. So then those things become a dynamic thing. But you got to do it with the friends. You can't be like, I'm, jealous of this person, I'm just gonna do something and and then it's just not gonna work out, is it? Because the attitude is wrong. Okay, because the attitude is wrong. So we've got to get the attitude right, and then we can do anything with the right attitude. Okay, because it's all about how I approach to something. Okay, how am I relating to a situation? Okay. So if I want to support them, complete them, complement them in the work that we're all doing together, then, right, it's a different ball game. Then that competition could be great, because then you discover you're really competing with yourself. Okay. And you're seeing their greatness. So seeing their greatness is also adding to your motivation. And then you can be jealous, you can be envious, you can compete and all that, but that is just to bring the best in you out so that you can be as great as the friends that you're studying with, because according to your study, they've become great in your eyes. Okay, so you really got to juggle this a little bit, right? It's not too difficult. Okay, there's nothing difficult about spirituality. It's just about getting, it's just trying to do your best in relating things from the right perspective. Okay, from the side of giving and bestowal. Okay, not self-reception. That's all. Rightio. Where are we? Number 6. All right, number 6. Just bear with me. Let me have a drink. Okay, so what are Torah and work in the way of the Creator? So let's take a look. If a person wants to work and observe Torah and mitzvot without any regard, only because he wants to serve the king, then he needs to know the greatness of the king. For the measure of his work depends on the extent of his faith in the greatness of the king. For only the greatness and importance of the king gives him fuel for work. It is, as it is written in the Zohar about the verse, her husband is known at the gates. It means that each according to what he assumes in his heart. By this, he tells us that to the extent that a person assumes in his heart the greatness and importance of the Creator, to the extent he dedicates himself to serving the king. Let's read that again. If a person wants to work and observe Torah and mitzvot without any regard, so Torah and mitzvot are obviously what? Studying the wisdom of Kabbalah and doing the commandments of the Creator. What's that? That needs to correct ourselves. Okay, so we're not talking about Torah and mitzvot like a regular guy does on the street, because that has really nothing to do with changing your heart. Torah and mitzvot, Torah is teaching and light, right? So from the teaching, I should get light, which is enlightenment. And that should allow me to go through a personal change from reception to bestowal, and that's called the commandment of the Creator, right? So I'm correcting myself without any reward, only because he wants to serve the king. So only because we want to bestow to the king. Serving the king doesn't mean that the Creator needs servants, right? Obviously not, right? We want to serve the king means that just like the Creator is bestowing to me, I want to bestow back. Okay, this is actually for the advantage of the created being. Why? Because then we do not feel less. Okay, the Creator wants to elevate us, not to reduce us and stamp on us. He wants us to be at a higher level of consciousness. And the only way that can be is if we live in the same format, the same nature as the Creator. And that's what it means to serve the king. So serving the king means, instead of being under my egoism, instead of being under the control of my egoism, I will be now under the control of love and bestow. That is the attribute of the Creator, and that is what we should be serving, right? Then he needs to know the greatness of the king. So we need to know what bestowal is. Otherwise, we're never going to have this opportunity to move forward. For the measure of his work depends on the extent of his faith in the greatness of the king. So faith means bestowal. So the amount of bestowal is going to determine how much the Creator is going to be great in my eyes. So the more I bestow, the greater the Creator is. The more I receive for myself, the less importance the king has or the Creator has. For only the greatness and importance of the king gives him fuel for work. Well, in spirituality, that's how it is. Only if bestowal and love are important for me, I can move forward in spirituality. If not, well, there's nothing we can do. As it's written in the Zohar about the verse, her husband is known at the gates. It means that each according to what he assumes in his heart. By this, he tells us that to the extent that a person assumes in his heart the greatness and importance of the Creator, to that extent he dedicates himself to serving the king. So the more we advance in spirituality, the more we're going to advance in the attribute of bestowal, and more we can dedicate ourselves accordingly. Anything else? Yes? There is, okay. Patricia's asking, how do I overcome my pessimism? Well, why are you pessimistic? We're the ones who should be the most optimistic people on the planet, because at least we can build a higher level of consciousness. Everybody out there is going to end up dead. All right, let's be like cold and straightforward. Okay, we all agree we're going to die. Is that correct? Okay, yes. Some people are going to die exactly the way they were born. Not 1 millimeter or a gram of change. Bang. Born like a kitten, dead like a cat. Okay, that's it. On the other hand, though, if we're studying the wisdom of Kabbalah, if we've got a dot in the heart, what's there to be pessimistic about? Quite to the opposite. We should be very optimistic, despite the fact that we're going through ups and downs. Because the ups and downs determine that we're going forward. If we didn't have ups and downs, we wouldn't be able to go forward if we weren't going through ups and downs, right? So we're going through ups and we're going through descents and feeling like lazy, not important. No, I don't really care about bestowal. No, I don't want to care about anybody else. Okay, so we're going through all these ups and downs, but with that, we have an understanding from the study that this is how it should be, because my nature is against the work, right? So that should actually make me what? Optimistic. Why? Because I'm beginning to reveal my true nature. And that is advancement. If that's not advancement, I don't know what is. Because at the end of the day, the wisdom of Kabbalah is the wisdom of truth. So if it's showing me the truth, we should be optimistic, right? Let me know what you think, Patricia, because that's how I look at it anyway. When friends fail to show up, I think the worst, but others judge the friends to the scale of merit. Look, people can be going through a lot of bad stuff, okay? We don't know, right? So for a person to come once a week could be a real, effort, seriously. And for someone to come like 7 days a week could be like a walk in the park. So we don't know what kind of dramas people are going through. We don't know their hardships. So we've got to judge them to the merit. We've got to say, well, you know what? The guy is doing his best. And imagine the kind of stuff he must be going through that he could just make it once a week. Okay? Because we don't know. They could be sick. They could have a bad, I don't know, anything, life is very tricky. All of a sudden, everything can just go bang, turn upside down. So we don't know. So we need to learn to appreciate the friends rather than criticize the friends or to think negatively, okay? But to always show them love and support whenever we see them coming in. That's really, really important. That also gives them strength. So a person who comes once a week, let's say, or once a month even, if the whole group shows love and compassion, motivation, help, smiley faces, everybody's happy to see them, they'll probably get motivated to come more. Okay, so everybody has to reflect that love in the group with their actions, intentions, and everything. Can I invert my nature? Well, not your nature, but how you use your nature. That's what we've got to change. Right? We're always going to be a desire to receive. But am I going to use my desire to receive for my self-benefit, or am I going to use it for the benefit of others? That's the important thing. So we have to invert our intention. Why am I using this desire? For whose benefit? And is the last question your question, Asli? No, whose question is that? No name?
Can I talk?
Who?
It's not a question.
Oh,
Patricia just
she
answered your
made
question.
a comment. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
she made a comment.
I just don't feel anything I do, but I just don't feel anything I do benefits the friends. Well, that's okay. Most of the time, I don't feel like anything I do benefits anyone, but I try. Okay, that's good, because this is how we grow up, right? Kids are always playing games. And from a grown-up point of view, it's like silly. The things they do are really silly, but with silly things, they grow up. So everything they do is actually a lie. They're playing with a toy car. They're playing with, I don't know, toy. Everything is a toy, right? It's just not real, okay? But from games, they grow up, and this is how they behave. Then afterwards, in the real world, they prepare themselves for the real world by making an effort to grow up in what? In lies, actually. Okay? It's all a big fat lie when you're a kid. But you don't tell them, oh, real life is going to be hard. You're going to be really sorry you were born. Once you grow up, life is just going to suck. We don't tell them these things. No, we just motivate them. We play games with them, despite the fact that we know it's a lie. Okay, why? Because it develops them emotionally, intellectually, it prepares them for life. And so we have to play this game as well, all of us together. So as if my help to everybody is helping, right? So that I'm like helping, supporting, I'm doing my best, okay? And that's it. And the important thing here is to do it correctly. How can I do it correctly? Well, first of all, participating in the lessons so we can get the essence of the lesson of how to do something, right? How to do something, and how to direct ourselves, how to help correctly, let's say, okay? How to be a good friend in the 10 correctly. All right, so don't worry, just keep trying. That's what we do as kids as well. Kids never give up, right? They're always running around, and this is exactly how we should be behaving as well. Okay. Looks like silence. I will take silence as an okay. Right, then let's go to item number 7. This is from Rabash. If a person pays attention to the importance of the king, he will have complete satisfaction in being given the Torah and mitzvot to observe as much as he can. Even if, for example, he has the privilege of speaking with a great king with whom not anyone is permitted to come and speak. Rather, it requires much persuasion among the king's confidants to let him speak a few words with the king. How elated that person would be when he sees that many people are not permitted to approach the king, or are even told that the king is here in town and there are people who can speak with the king. He sees that there are people in the world who do not know that there is a king in the world, and only a very small group of people in the world were given the thought and desire to believe that there is a king in the world. Even those who were informed about the king do not know that it is possible to speak with him. But that person was given knowledge from above that he can come in and speak with the king, meaning that he can believe. Right, let's read this again and call it a night. If a person pays attention to the importance of the king, he will have complete satisfaction in being given the Torah and mitzvot to observe as much as he can. Now, this a person can even have without entering spirituality, if we just start to value what we're trying to attain. Just think about what we're trying to attain, okay? Then even that is really some kind of a motivation, satisfaction. Even if, for example, he has the privilege of speaking with a great king with whom not anyone is permitted to come and speak. Rather, it requires much persuasion among the king's confidants to let him speak a few words with the king. How elated that person would be when he sees that many people are not permitted to approach the king, or even are told that the king is here in town and there are people who can speak with the king. This is exactly what I just told Patricia a few minutes ago, right? So not everybody on the planet has an idea about what's going on, okay, with life or with their life. Just think about it for a moment. Nobody really understands why they're living, why they were created, what's the meaning of their life. Nothing. A lot of people are actually living in really outright misery in the world, just simply not knowing what they're living for, why they were born here. It's just sheer madness if you look at the planet. Okay? So a lot of people in developed countries as well, not just undeveloped countries, everywhere around the world, everybody is really, really in a dire situation. So just thinking about it from that perspective, the Creator gave us an opportunity to say, come on, let's connect, let's have this relationship, elevate yourself a little bit. Isn't that already enough for us to for us to get some kind of a push, at least a little bit, so that we can move forward? Also, looking at life a little, like I said before, like logically, right? Saying, look, I'm going to end up dead anyway. And what do I got to look for or show for when I'm dead? Nothing really. They're just going to put me in a coffin. If you're lucky, you'll get a coffin, you know? In our religion, they just throw you with a white cloth into the pit and that's it. Game over, right? There's a reason for that, obviously. Okay, there's a reason for it. Because the body is valueless. Okay? It's not important. Because our spiritual development is important. So if we understand that, you know, we can at least get somewhere in life through spirituality, that's already something really, really important and great. And we should value it as well, right? So no need to feel pessimistic or miserable or in a descent. Okay, descent means I'm trying to get close to the Creator and I discover that I can't or I don't want to. That's a descent. That's it. But I got to work on that. A descent means I've got room to work and I now decipher where to work. That's the whole idea of a descent. It's not because I get into a depression, feel bad, and have a bohemian night over a bottle of red wine. No, that's not it. Okay. What I have to do now in a descent is to evaluate how to get out of it, because the descent should show me where I need to make changes. So increasing the importance of the goal, you know, connecting more in order to get some force from the group. Okay, that kind of thing. Because if I'm weak, it means I'm disconnected. So I've got to search for where I can get extra connection so I can get fuel so it can refill the tank. Right, I hope that makes sense, right? And the only way we can do that is the importance of the goal, and that can only happen through the environment. Right, this is why working together systematically, right, like day by day, just like we eat and drink every day, a little bit of spirituality every day will take us a long way. All right, will take us a long way. So we'll get, you know, really ahead with our work if we just do something every day, a little bit every day. That's it. That's all we need. And the rest, the work's result is going to be inside of us. The more we do something, the more discernment we'll go through, and that's going to cause more change. Okay. And that's it. Any questions there? Yes, one more. Inger is asking, how can one bestow and be happy? Well, that's a good question. But if you can only do that if you love someone. Okay, so if you got kids and you love them, you know, you do things for them, it just makes you happy. You know, they don't give anything back. Kids are like, what, they take everything. Okay. They just suck your blood. All right. You give them a little bit more opportunity, they'll leave you dry and hang you out there. Okay. But you love them. All right. So whenever you do something good for them, even if you don't get anything back, you're happy about it. So the only time we can actually bestow and be happy is actually the only time we can be happy is when we bestow. Exactly when we bestow can we be happy, because that means we love people and it means that there's mutual love between us, and happiness is always in that loving relationship between people. It's not about, you will never find a person who's really happy because of material stuff. You won't. You can read the lives of rich people as well, and they'll tell you money doesn't make you happy. It cannot. Okay. So what if you have everything? You get used to everything anyway. Right? Think about it for a moment. Even if you have all the money in the world, you're going to get used to everything you have. It's like a curse. You can do everything, but you get pleasure from nothing. Okay. It's weird, but it's true, because you can do everything. There's no taste in anything then, because there's no yearning, no, you know, You're not missing to do something. So that's why nobody can really be happy in receiving. So exactly when we bestow, we can be happy. All right. So that's that, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great evening. And the Creator willing, we'll have another lesson next week. In the interim, have a good one. Have a great week. And see you guys next time.